Ladies and gents, welcome back. Trudeau getting the attention he deserves, maybe not the attention that he would like, with this little hashtag trending in Canada. Trudeau must go with over 10,000 tweets just today. Now, hashtags, this is how hashtags work. People get them going and they trend on Twitter, and show you how many people in recent time have been using this. Now, there was a recent article here from the Counter Signal. Trudeau must go keeps trending on Twitter. Trudeau must go keeps trending on Twitter, and many are voicing concerns about and outright discussed over PM Justin Trudeau's pandemic policies and response to the Freedom Convoy. Again, here, the Trudeau must go keeps trending. At the time of writing, over 10,000 people have used the hashtag Trudeau must go. Libs are having panic attacks here. Oh, so here we have, they're just quoting some of these tweets here from unacceptable Canadian girl. Libs are having panic attacks over Pierre Poilievre, yet they don't seem to see or care that their so-called leader is destroying the country more each day. Trudeau must go. Canadians United, Canadians Freedom Radio. I will never let Trudeau and all members of the federal government forget what they did to their own people. We are Canadians. Trudeau must go. More tweets here. Queen Paula, the charter isn't worth the paper it's printed on. The Trudeau regime the Trudeau regime made sure of that. Shame on all of you dishonest, disrespectful, untrustworthy cretins. Trudeau must go. And that's in response to David Lametti saying, I'll never forget what it was like watching the adoption of the Canadian Charter and Rights and Freedoms 40 years ago. Today, 40 years later, I'm reflecting on the profound impact the Charter has had. I think he maybe meant to say had, not has had. Protecting the fundamental rights and freedoms of every single Canadian. Wow. Yeah, about that. Other Twitter users have drawn attention to a Huffington Post article from 2014 entitled "Why Canada Will Become a Dictatorship Under Trudeau" that details former ski instructors' shady political beginnings. And actually, I did a video about this article a while back on the channel, so check that out. But yeah, this was written in 2014 about how the Trudeau government would become a dictatorship. Pretty insightful before he was even elected. This isn't the first time an anti-Trudeau slogan has taken off in social media platform either. During the Freedom Convoy protests in Ottawa. I don't want to say that out loud, but that was trending. A comical mixing of Trudeau's infamous love of wearing dark makeup publicly and his horrific use of the Emergencies Act to freeze truckers' bank accounts. Trudeau tyranny and Trudeau dictatorship must go have also trended since the Freedom Convoy protests. It appears that Twitter has noticed the most recent trend, though, and they aren't happy. We have here, Liberals are trying to make Pierre Poilievre must resign trend, and didn't really work. Let's get Trudeau must go back up there, and of course, people obliged. And it's funny because this is how Twitter works. If you go and you type something on Twitter, you put a hashtag and then you type in Trudeau, and that's the first one that comes up. Of course, it is trending. This is an interesting thing about Twitter. So normally it'll tell you that it's trending if you're typing something out, unless they don't want it to trend. Then they won't tell you. You have to look it up. But yes, it is in fact trending right here. But yeah, Trudeau must go. You've got all kinds of choices. Trudeau dictatorship must go. Trudeau worst PM ever. Trudeau corruption. Just straight up Trudeau. Trudeau the tyrant. Trudeau must go on. Oh, okay, somebody really was trying to fight back. Trudeau dictatorship. And yeah, back up to the beginning. Yeah, there have been many more, but these are just the ones that are currently active at the moment. But yeah, that's how Twitter works. Even as I write, the Trudeau must go hashtag has been replaced with Prime Minister of Canada, and Pierre Poilievre is lying to you. Not nearly as catchy as, nor as popular, but hey, desperate times call for pathetically obvious and desperate measures. Yeah, so these are some other ones, but of course, the counter signal bringing to light what's happening. But Trudeau is, here's the Pierre Poilievre must resign one. Let's get Trudeau must go back up there. But Trudeau, no stranger to making himself look like a total idiot as he's up there with these.
And for the rest of your lives, you will remember this time of pandemic as a time where, yes, we gathered with families, but also where you learned that what you do as an individual matters to the entire community, the entire world.
He's talking to kids.
Every time you washed your hands, every time you wore a mask, every time you stayed safe and stayed home, you were making things better for your neighbors. You were sacrificing for the good of all. And that lesson that you learned through this pandemic, even as you did miss out on all sorts of things that we're going to try and get back as quickly as possible.
Oh, we're totally going to try to get that back quick as soon as possible. We've been doing that for 2 years. Anyway, yeah, this is him talking about how it's for the good of the collective, to the children. This is, again, why he's trending. And here's another one where he's talking about blaming immigration in Canada for why we have a housing bubble, not his fiscal policy. And it's just terrible. It's terrible.
Next question. Good morning, Prime Minister. Jeff Outhet from the Waterloo Region Record. I want to return to housing for a second here. My son, 25 years old, still lives at home with us. College grad, good paying job. He laughs off the idea that he'll ever own a house, a detached house like the one he lives in now that we were able to afford 25 years ago. He just thinks it's a joke. The housing prices are ridiculous. There's no way he's ever going to be able to afford the kind of mortgage it would take, cripple him for life. So I want to ask your thoughts on that. Those, people starting out in their 20s and early 30s, what do you say to them? Do you say give up on detached ownership and go for something smaller and it's a dream that's dead? You're never going to get there? Let me ask how you feel about that.
Obvious.
Just you didn't want to listen to the whole question. All right, get on with it. I got my prepared thing. I'm ready to say it. I looked in the mirror this morning and I rehearsed it.
I've heard from Canadians like your son across the country who are really worried about the housing market, who wonder whether or not they'll ever be able to afford a home. One of the challenges we're facing in Canada is our population with immigration and other things has been growing over the past years, and housing construction hasn't kept up. Which is a real problem. And that's why one of the initiatives we're working on, $4 billion towards municipalities in order to double the construction of new housing over the coming years. This is something that is going to help. Whether it's enough or directly going to be helping your son, we'll have to see, because there's not just one program that's going to help anyone. There's going to be a range of programs, from programs of rent.
Hey, I just got to cut him off here. We're going to give a bunch of money to municipalities who have record incomes from the rising taxes, so they have more money than they've ever had. We're going to give them more money to solve a problem that they haven't solved, and maybe don't have the power to solve. Maybe they could get out of the way and move a lot of the red tape, but here he is blaming immigrants for coming in while he's opened the doors to immigration. So what is it? Like, immigration causes housing? I don't know. He's just opening up a can of worms, making himself look like a total idiot. But yeah, Trudeau must go, and I'm gonna have to agree with that. Keep on trucking, folks.